Hello everyone, my name is Adam, and today we're going to be taking a look at the history of NASA and some of the crowning achievements of the United States' civilian space agency. Chances are, if you are watching this video, you might already know what NASA stands for and are just looking for a little bit more information about it. For those of you who don't know, NASA stands for the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. It is an agency funded by the United States federal government responsible for the civilian space program, aeronautics and aerospace research, and robotic exploration of the solar system. The origin of NASA starts back in 1915 when aeronautics were starting to be used for military applications. World War I was well underway, and the United States saw the need for a committee to oversee the rapid advancement of aeronautics technology to compete with enemy forces. As a result of this need, on March 3, 1915, President Woodrow Wilson signed into law the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, or NACA. NACA was responsible for cutting-edge aeronautics testing throughout World War I through its transition to NASA in 1958. NACA oversaw testing for superchargers for high-altitude bombers, wing profiles for fighter planes, supersonic rocket engine experiments, as well as conventional aviation studies surrounding advanced technologies. With the onset of the Cold War in 1946, the United States and Soviet Union entered the space race, where both superpowers aimed to achieve aerospace and aeronautical milestones before each other. This included the origin of ballistic missiles and eventually the launch of artificial satellites like the Soviet-launched Sputnik 1. As a response to the launch of the Sputnik 1 spacecraft, NACA organized a committee on space technology that was consulted by the Army Ballistics Missile Agency, headed by Wernher von Braun, a former Nazi-era scientist. This combined effort led to the launch of the first U.S. satellite, Explorer 1, on January 31, 1958. Later that year, President Eisenhower signed the National Aeronautics and Space Act, establishing NASA. Since its inception, NASA has had a hand in many different space endeavors, including the Apollo missions that landed men on the moon, the Space Shuttle program, the International Space Station, and numerous unmanned and robotic spacecraft orbiting Earth and most of the planets in our solar system. These missions have defined generations, and in the eyes of many, landing humans on the moon is the greatest technological achievement in human history. In addition to these major scientific and space milestones, NASA is the only agency to successfully send not just one, but two spacecraft into interstellar space. The Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 spacecraft passed the heliosphere, which is the edge of our solar system, on August 25, 2012 and November 5, 2018, respectively. Throughout its history, NASA has operated missions with many different scientific payloads focusing on different aspects of space science. Some of these missions have included manned spacecraft, while the vast majority have focused on satellites and robotic exploration. Currently, NASA operates over 65 different Earth-based satellites for climate and atmospheric science, geodynamics, and ocean monitoring, just to name a few. Mars-based missions include satellites, rovers, and landers to better understand the history of the Red Planet. Additionally, these spacecraft are aiming to answer one of the most pressing philosophical questions: are we alone in the universe? The rovers and landers sent to our planetary neighbor are aiming to answer the questions of did life exist on Mars in the distant past? Furthermore, there are numerous other missions that include deep space studies, heliophysics, astrobiology, and solar system exploration. NASA operates a number of current planetary science missions. The Mars Science Laboratory, a car-sized rover looking for the ingredients of life on Mars, has been on the surface since August 5, 2012. Also known as the Curiosity rover, this rover has reaffirmed that the Martian surface had abundant water, and sedimentary rocks from Gale Crater contain primitive organic molecules. Another impressive finding has shown that the Martian atmosphere may show some seasonality in methane concentration. This will be a topic for a future video, so stay tuned. The Juno mission entered Jupiter's orbit on July 5, 2016. Its goal is to unravel the history of the planet's formation and evolution. Upon its arrival, Juno took some of the most stunning pictures of Jupiter that have ever been seen, with its high-resolution cameras and spectrometers. In 2021, Juno will suffer the same fate as the Cassini spacecraft at Saturn and plunge itself into Jupiter for one final hurrah. The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter is essentially a spy satellite orbiting Mars. It was launched on August 12, 2005 and was placed into Mars orbit on March 10, 2006. It was sent to map and image the Martian surface in unprecedented detail and has revealed extraordinary new data about Mars. It had the ability to measure the amount of water ice in the poles, image ice in craters never before seen, and determine the mineralogy of different sites on the Martian surface. Most importantly, the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter found evidence for flowing salty water on the Martian surface in 2011. This was later confirmed in 2015. The final ongoing planetary science mission that we'll talk about here is the InSight mission. The InSight mission was launched May 5, 2018, with touchdown on Mars on November 26 that same year. The primary mission objective is to explore the geophysics and determine if Mars is still geologically active. As of this recording, InSight has detected minor Marsquakes and is currently performing heat flow experiments to better determine the geophysics on Mars. As for future planetary exploration, in the not-too-distant future, new missions will be launched. This includes the Mars 2020 rover set to launch in July of 2020 and the Europa Clipper mission set to launch sometime in the mid-2020s. The Mars 2020 rover will largely be based on the Curiosity spacecraft. It will be launched between mid-July and early August 2020 with an expected arrival date of February 2021. Although 2020 is based off of the Curiosity rover, it will contain a different suite of scientific instruments. Most importantly, it will have a caching system that will collect drill core samples and leave them on the surface of Mars. A future mission in the mid-2020s will be sent to the same location to collect and launch these samples back to Earth. The final mission that we will briefly mention today is the Europa Clipper mission. The Europa Clipper mission will perform close flybys to the Jovian moon, Europa. The scientific payload will contain cameras and spectrometers for high-resolution imaging, ice-penetrating radar, and a magnetometer to characterize Europa's magnetic field. 45 flybys are planned for the nominal mission, but this could increase with mission extensions. The Europa Clipper mission doesn't have a set launch date, but it is expected to launch in the 2020s. In upcoming videos, we will go in depth on these missions, as well as examine the history of each NASA center that has been critical in making these missions a success. We will also look back at some of the crowning achievements in space science, such as the space race between the Soviets and the United States, the Apollo missions, and some of the first missions to land spacecraft on other planets. That's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video and that it gave you a better understanding of how NASA came to be and some of the interesting missions currently operating. If you're interested in more videos like this, please be sure to leave a new video idea in a comment, and don't forget to like and subscribe. If you would like to support this channel, I have a link to my Patreon in the description box down below. Until the next time, stay curious and go explore.